Better late than never. Today I'm taking a look at the Makeup by Mario Surreal Skin Foundation. I wore this for 3 days and shot it, but other than that, I probably wore it 4 days or 5 days other than that. A little goes a long way. And I didn't shoot today's makeup look, but I will have it listed below. Also, I recently did my Empties video and several people said they really liked the makeup look and wanted to know what I was wearing. It is from this video, and in the description box I will have everything listed what I wore on that day as well. So let's get into the Makeup by Mario. I have my notes, what it is. Thought I'd be able to do this without my glasses, but no. A buildable, luminous foundation that effortlessly builds and blends to illuminate the complexion with a customizable, long-wearing coverage. So they're going a long way to say it's buildable and it's luminous. And I would agree. Highlighted ingredients, grapeseed oil and squalene, and provides restoring moisturizing benefits, perfecting powders, which work with skin's natural texture for a smooth and enhanced finish. Along with grapeseed and squalene, there's also tocopherol. Several things with the word cone at the end, and coconut alkalines, which I know can be problematic for some people. If you're one of those people, be forewarned. The second to the last ingredient is mica, so let's talk about that. I've been working on this for some time, you guys. We've had a lot of rain. It's very dark, and I just can't. I can't shoot. So I did end up seeing a couple of videos, which I try not to do, but I had already started my system, my 3-day wear test, so I thought I was safe, and I kind of accidentally ran into a couple of them. The first was Jen Phelps, who said there were sparkles. Oh, by the way, speaking of sparkles, you guys, there's a couple sparkles stuck to my face from this. I'm doing the ColourPop video of the 2 eyeshadow palettes, and I also bought that, and I put my beauty blender on the table, and I think it might have picked up a couple, so there's some sparkles on my face. It's not from the foundation. But Jen Phelps said that there were sparkles in here, and I thought, well, that was not my experience. Then I watched Angie do her video. Now, it's no surprise that Angie wasn't going to like this. I don't really understand why she would even try. It was totally not up her alley. But what was so weird was something about her light. So she has a ring light and 2 box lights. And I think she's near a window, but I think those are basically her lights. And those kind of lights are not natural. They're a different color temperature, but they also, I think, kind of show things that you don't normally see in real life. And she's putting this on, and there was this beautiful, beautiful pearlized look to her skin. It almost looked like she mixed her foundation with something like Charlotte Tilbury's Hollywood Flawless filter, whatever that thing's called. It was stunning, and I was watching the video thinking, I didn't have that experience. It looks great on her. But up until then, I only tried it during dark weather when it was kind of cloudy, and I thought maybe when the sun comes out, it'll look like that on me. And then the final thing that I saw was Risa Loves Makeup. And Risa said she heard someone say there were glitters in here, and she looked at the bottle and said, oh yeah, I do see. I got a sample, so I didn't see anything through the bottle. And I just wonder if there's something in here that when it's magnified through the glass looks like glitters and isn't, because mica is not glitter. Mica gives a pearlized finish, and mica's like the second or third to last ingredient in this, which it means hardly any. Mica handled well, beautiful. And I'm telling you, I just don't see sparkles on my face. There's no glitters on my face. All right, let's move on. Because I'm wearing a very nice shirt, I'm not going to do swatches right now. I will do them at the end of the video and just give you an idea of what this color is compared to several things that I use all the time. But I'm using the color 7C for cool. I don't find it to be incredibly cool. I feel that it's kind of neutral, honestly, But I'm not 100% sure about this color. It's like there's something a teeny bit off, but then I think I'm really being a Virgo about this because this color is not egregiously green. It's not egregiously yellow. It doesn't have an orangeness to it. It is so good in so many ways as far as the color goes that why am I being so fussy? And yet, when I look in the mirror, not right now though, I think something's a little bit off about this color. I'm going to go out on a limb and say I think it's possible that this range runs very warm, otherwise I wouldn't be wearing a C. And before we get started, I first want to talk a little bit about me and my skin, because that matters, especially if you're new here. You're going to be wondering the whole time, well, what's your skin type, right? Or what's your preference? My preference is a skin-like finish. My divine preference is really good coverage that looks like skin. It doesn't look makeup-y at all. You know, a girl can dream. My skin type is dry. I'm 60 years old, and I just don't produce the same amount of oils, hyaluronic acid, collagen, elastin, ceramides, all the wonderful things that make youthful skin look youthful. I'm not producing so much anymore. I put all of those things on my face, except for collagen and elastin. I put retin A and retinaldehyde on my skin for that. I don't have dry patches, however. Once in a while I might, and it's just because I've gone a little bit too ham with my retin A. So those are my preferences, that's my skin, that's what I'm dealing with, and let's get into my 3-day wear test. On my first day, I applied with fingers, which is my preference for most foundations. Sometimes I'll use a brush or a beauty blender, but fingers, I really like that synergy of feeling everything and touching the skin and warming everything up with skin to skin. Although lately it's so cold, I'm freezing. Let's get into my observations when I'm putting it on. So the slip is very good. I feel there's a lot of dimethicone in this. I haven't looked up the ingredients yet, but it just feels like that. And the coverage seems to be medium. And this one, I'm stretching out quite a bit, so you can see better coverage here with more product, makes sense, and less so here. It looks good. It looks pretty on the skin. It looks very similar to the things that were happening last year. So I think the trend is still alive. The idea of something that is glowy and makes the skin look nice and has that certain texture. It feels very similar to what we saw from the Hourglass Ambient and from the NARS, and to an extent the Charlotte Tilbury, but the formula for the Charlotte Tilbury is quite different. But I'm not thinking, wow, like when I put on the House Labs. Now, it is raining and it's very cloudy, and it's hard for me to come to conclusions about what do I think when I'm not in full sunlight. Now, after I put the footage in my computer, I was looking side to side, and I thought, you know what, I really thought it looked nice when it was less coverage. Yes, you could see the redness coming through, but it looked more natural. But I had more foundation on one side and I had to even it up, so I did. I used my blender and, added a little bit of foundation so I'd look a little more even. Without powdering my face first, I wanted to go on with some cream products and see how they worked, to see if there was any pickup or if it did anything to the foundation. First I went on with a Merit Beauty blush in the color Nude. Just really gently, and then go in with the other finger to blend. Yeah, I don't think anything's picking up. And then I went in with the Charlotte Tilbury Beautiful Skin Bronzer, which is kind of a cream powder hybrid, in the shade 1. So the cream products are on, and I still haven't powdered my face. I really wanted to see how a powdered blush would go over without powdering the skin first, and I went in with my Gucci. No drag. And also, you know, when I say, hey, no drag, I am using squirrel. So it's not, it behaves very differently than a goat. And then finally I powdered my face with my most used and most beloved, my By Terry Hyaluronic Hydra Powder. And this was my final look. My notes at the end of the day to myself were, it wore very well. It is long wearing. I went for a hike that day. I do on most days go for a long walk or a hike with my little Gracie. And oftentimes I get a little sweaty, and it stayed on fine. I remember thinking all of the color was gone from my face. The blush was gone, but so was my natural color not coming through. So that really means that the coverage was staying, and that's notable. At the same time though, I wasn't actually sure that I loved it, which is a little odd because the color was very, very decent. The coverage was good. I really wasn't sure. So day 2, I thought I would go a little differently. I had just got this primer from Dior, the Velvet Veil, which is a mattifying primer. And I got it in the hopes that I'm not as shiny as I usually am and maybe won't have to powder that much. So I put that on first, and then I went on with the foundation. And this time I applied with my fingers as usual, but then I just kind of patted everything in with the BK Beauty 101 brush. On this day I wanted to keep my makeup look pretty natural, pretty light. I was going to be shooting my Empties video immediately after. I will link right here, and then I was going to go to the dentist, who's going to be leaning over, put the bib on, x-rays, moving around, and that's a really good test to see how good your longevity is. But I also didn't want to go into the dentist's office looking, you know, too makeup-y. I didn't do a lot today. I did the Charlotte Tilbury bronzer, and I did this, and the sun is leaving just now. The Water Fresh blush from Chanel, and I just kind of wanted to see how they would work together. Let me scoochie up a little bit. I didn't powder my face, so I have some sheen, but it's not too much sheen, so I really like that Dior primer for me. And I just put a little bit of the Sicily on the eyes. I haven't lined, I haven't done mascara. Here comes the sun again. And I will say color-wise, I think the color is fine. It's so hard to test when it's cloudy because things look so different and you don't see as well. But I'm looking in the mirror thinking it's awfully pretty. But is it making me go, wow, I have to buy that? It's not. It's so interesting. It's really a dog-eat-dog kind of world out there when companies are making foundations. They're just doing such a good job that you really have to do something a little bit special to get my interest. Unless you suffer from, as many of us do, brand loyalty. If NARS is your brand or NARS makes your color, that's where you're going to go. Same with Hourglass, same with Kosas. Kosas is clean. You know, there's so many things people take into consideration, and some people take none of that into consideration. I find that the more I'm talking, the more this is settling in, and the more I'm liking it. Isn't that interesting? And this is what it looked like about an hour later after I shot my Empties. Everything kind of melted into the skin, and I thought it looked quite nice. So the trip to the dentist proved that, again, this is long wearing. It doesn't have alcohol in it, which most long wearing foundations do, and I really appreciate it. And I have to say, on the offside, there were a couple of times I was using something else, but I went into this to just put on my neck to hide this redness right here, and it didn't transfer onto my clothes, which I really appreciate. The other thing I use for that, I'm using today, is the Dior Face and Body, I think it's called, but that does have alcohol in it, right here. So, you know, FYI, if you are someone who wears clothes kind of high up and you have something to cover right here, or you have a red chest like me, but you don't want to ruin your clothes, these two are good for that. On the final day that I recorded, I went on my Tula Mineral Magic again. So I wore that the first day, the third day, and on the second day I think I wore my Isntree. The formulations are a little bit different, and the Tula has, I feel that it has a lot of silicones in it, and I thought it would mesh well with this foundation, which has a lot of cone words in it, And that's what I did. On this day, I was also doing the first day of my Dior Mitzah palette, which I'll post that right here. And on that day, I went really bright. That was the one where I wore the red lipstick and the darker eyeshadow. What a difference it makes to shoot in sun. And the pictures that I took of myself, which were not really pictures, I just smile at the camera while it's filming, looked so good. The skin looks so amazing. The color looks spot on. Light makes all the difference in the world. And I thought, well, this is interesting. I'm not feeling like I love this foundation in real life, but damn, this photographs beautifully. On this day, I did half with the BK Beauty 101, and I did the other half with the Beauty Blender. I got a little bit more coverage with the brush, which I don't really use in a sweeping fashion. It's more like pat, 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 and then maybe a little sweeping. I use a light hand with it, but the Beauty Blender, of course, took up a little bit more. So after the foundation, I went and did my eye makeup. I hadn't powdered, I hadn't done anything, and I looked in the mirror, finally paying attention to my skin, and I noticed something. Yeah. All right, you guys, I'm working on another video, and I just finished my eyes, and I looked in the mirror and I thought, is it possible that I look more shiny now than I did when I just applied it? It's certainly not hot, and it couldn't be me overheating. I just wanted to make that observation. So I didn't use the mattifying primer with this, which I did on one of the days, and I do feel like 100% I have to powder this. I'm just going in with my By Terry as per usual. And this is what I prefer to do my foundation, then let it sink in for 15 minutes while I'm doing my eyes, and then deciding. But usually the decision is made for me because it's super shiny and a little under the eyes. You know, again, I have to say, every time I've worn this, I felt like it is long wearing, that it's still there. I still see it going on. But I'm not feeling like, oh, it's just doing a certain something for my skin that I cannot get over, and I have to buy it. After that, I went back to my Dior video. I did the rest of my face products, which basically was my blush. I don't think I did a bronzer that day or contour or anything else. And I loved the outcome. This, by the way, is how thumbnails are made. I'm just kind of moving really slowly for the camera and hoping that I get a good angle, looking at the mirror, making sure this isn't too terribly tragic. And there you go. And there's a little behind the scenes for you. So let's talk. They say it's long lasting, it is. They say that it's buildable, it is. They say it's luminous, it is. Now today I did a totally different application. I'm not wearing any powder except for under my eyes. Today I tried 2 sunscreens that I haven't worn in a while. It's that time of year where I'm looking at the expiration date and using things up, and I mixed the Empties Solar Sciences, which is very dimethicone, and it has a beigey tone because it's a mineral, with the My Shell, which is very dark and very liquid. And that really kind of mattified me, but it's still comfortable. And then I put this on, totally unpowdered. This is the finish on a more matte beginning, which is really, really pretty, right? But I also noticed on that second day, my skin looked so shiny. It didn't look glowy. It didn't look glow from within. It wasn't about the pearlization. It looked just shiny and absolutely needed to be powdered. Cream products without being powdered first work great. Powder products without first powdering my face also work fine, but remember I did let it set up for a little bit before I went on. It wore very long, it was buildable, it's clicking a lot of boxes, even the color is really pretty decent, and yet I never got that feeling, that little rush, I have to go out and get this. And I can't really put my finger on why. Now recently I also got the Surreal foundation, which I love deeply. When I put that on, it looks like my skin. It just looks 100% natural, and it's not full coverage, but it's decent enough coverage for me and evens everything out. So I'm deeply in love with that. I love the house slabs. You know when you love something. You know when you test something, I have to have this. And I cannot explain to you why. I just don't have that feeling. I do wonder, maybe, you know, when I'm done with the Suku, I might run out and get this. Right now, I feel like I've been wearing this a lot, and I can't wait to wear the house again, and I can't wait to wear the Suku again, which I think are really good tests, honestly. Maybe they won't be as good as I remember them, and maybe I will be like, this is the one. So those are my thoughts. I'm not sure if this is really helpful to you, because I'm not saying hell no, but I'm not saying, oh my God, immediately I have to go out to get it. And maybe I've shown you something that makes it a hell no for you, or that's made you think, yes, I need to go try this. Again, this look today, completely different because that sunscreen just mattified me. There's no powder on it at all. I think the shade is really very decent, but it might have the teeniest bit of olive in it. I'm not exactly sure. Yeah, I don't know. I'm looking at here and I'm thinking this and this seem like they really, really relate to each other. And yet, why am I not thinking, oh my God, my skin looks great? I think it's because when you go with fuller coverage like this, it doesn't look like your skin but better. It doesn't look like, oh my God, you have beautiful skin. It looks like you're wearing makeup. Ooh, let me scooch in a little bit. It looks like makeup, not in a bad way, but it's like the Dior Forever matte. When I reviewed that, I said it's really, really pretty, but it looks like makeup. It looks like, to me, it's something I would want to wear if I was going out at night. And maybe that's what's going on with me with this. Maybe this is something that I get for wearing out at night or for videos. So I just don't know. It's one of those things that I feel like I'm just presenting to you the facts, and you will have to make that decision on your own. I can't say I recommend it, and I can't say that it's horrible. I did all the days. I have worn this probably 6 or 7 times, and I'm still like, okay. And you guys, that is going to wrap up today's video. Thank you so much for spending some time with me. I really appreciate it. I know you have choices, and I'm really grateful that you chose to spend, 15 or 20 minutes or 25 minutes with me. I really, really appreciate it. And yeah, until we meet again, be safe and smart, and I'm wishing you good health. You guys, I forgot that I told you I am going to do some comparison swatches. So let's roll up the sleeves and get into that. This is the Makeup by Mario right here. And of course, when these dry down, they will change a little bit, but they'll all be wet at the same time. This is the Dior Natural Nude in 2N. House Slabs in 160. Charlotte Tilbury Beautiful Skin in 4N. And I just want to swatch this again because I feel like I have thicker swatches with those other colors, and this might help you. So it does look a little bit lighter. And I'm just going to zoom in without moving too close to the camera, because the closer I get to the camera, the closer I get to the lights, and it'll blow it out a little bit. And move around just a little bit so they're all wet. There's shine going off of this. But maybe that will help you see what's going on here. They're all around the same thing. The House Labs, I think, has a little bit of yellow in it. All right, there's swatches.